Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me tonight for No More Noise Toronto meetup with Sound Off, the silent disco. I'm very thrilled to welcome Castell to the screen. Let's just say, and so I'm just going to do a quick little introduction, then I'm going to pass it over to him for a nice little introduction here. So I always have to share my screen because otherwise I go off topic because there's so much to talk about when it comes to noise. So Nowhere Noise Toronto, we are focused on the noises that wake us up, keep us up, and disturb us day and night. We're grassroots, soon to become a not-for-profit. There's hot off the press. We're growing and doing things. We are data and process oriented, and we've collaborated with municipal licensing and standards, the police, Toronto Public Health, and 311. And we're very proud to be on the City of Toronto's external working group for the night economy. So a lot of cities are investing in the night economy because it's changed over the last few years. And so they want to make sure that there's a place for live music and live bands and arts and culture and all that stuff. So I'm very happy to be on the external working group for that. And we've got thousands of supporters in Toronto, Canada, US, and beyond. Um, like most cities, Toronto's changing, right? We've got zoning, we're becoming more dense, and there's industrial and residential and mixed use all coming together in this mixed bag. And while zoning is lines that are drawn on land, sound pays no attention to that whatsoever. So that's where cities are grappling with old policies for a new urban landscape, and the two aren't mixing. We've got more people, more hard surfaces, all the sound bounces off the glass and the concrete all the way up to the 54th floor. I take noise measurements, I know. And we're having lots of really large festivals. So in this slide here, you'll see on the bottom, there's this is a little clip from the noise bylaw that we have. And it says, noise in a city as large and vibrant as Toronto, certain levels of noise are reasonable and reflect life in a densely populated city. And they try to balance the city's vibrancy with the well-being of residents. Well, we make sure they're balancing that, but vibrant. I'm picking on that word because some people think that vibrant equals loud. And that's not the case, because if you take a look at Castell's background, that is vibrant and it's not loud. And when I was speaking with the night economy people, and I was like in the Dragon's Den, it felt like, I was like, vibrant is not necessarily about decibels. It's about color, it's about life, it's about excitement, it's about energy. So I just have somebody else coming into the room here. That's excellent. Okay. So I bring up vibrant because vibrant does not equal loud. Hello, welcome, Claire. You came in just at the right time because she says this all the time. Vibrant does not equal loud. Excellent. Well, you're here at the right time because we are going to jump right into Castell's presentation now. So I'm going to stop sharing. And so Castell, as you come on the screen here and unmute, can you tell us a noise story? What's your noise story? Just about everyone has one.
So my noise story, what does that mean? Let's start there.
Let's start there. Well, it's usually when I ask, it usually comes along with a bit of venting and ranting, actually, is what a noise story would be. But you clearly are involved in sound, and it's something that you've wanted to cherish and share. So, maybe how about this? What drew you to, as the CEO and as the Chief Experience Officer, what drew you to this company and making it and forming it for yourself?
Well, funny enough, if you wait a few minutes, I'll tell you about that in the presentation. But
Excellent.
a little background. I mean, I've since I grew up, I've always had like a musical background. When I was a kid, I was just humming around the house. My mom put me in a choir, and I did music all through middle school and high school and college. But I knew that I wasn't going to make a career as a musician.
Oh, were your parents relieved about that?
My parents were like happy for whatever I wanted to do with my
Oh,
life,
that's
but I just
awesome.
knew. I mean, I have friends who now have like multiple Grammys, who are opera singers. Like we all kind of grew up in the same programs, and their dedication to music is not what my dedication was.
Right.
I figured at some point I could be a patron of the arts and support my friends. I've had a very sort of interesting career track and landed back in this space. It kind of fuses. It's a connection of music and experience, and so it kind of brings me back to my roots. Singing in the halls. Where now it's like you put on headphones and you're kind of like singing and you don't know that anyone else is listening to you. So it's kismet, I guess, in its own way.
Right. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for sharing your story, and away you go. I'm gonna go on mute and go off camera and listen to you.
Excellent. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes,
Maybe
we
not.
are. Yes,
Okay.
we are.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you everyone for having me tonight. Thank you, Ingrid, for having me. Again, my name is Castel Valer Couturier, and I'm the Chief Experience Officer at SoundOff. Um, Thrilled to be talking to you all today about our technology, our brand, our company, our story, telling you about this technology, and really interested in learning more about, you know, the challenges that you're facing in Toronto and how we might be able to provide solutions for those. Um, we've started this company in 2010. It was kind of by accident. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But it's been a really interesting journey, kind of starting off with um, trying to find solutions for amplified sound in urban environments, and it's kind of blossomed from there, just creating different kinds of experiences. We've done, over the last 14 years, we've done thousands of events on pretty much every corner of the world. We've actually done events on all 7 continents. Our first event in Antarctica was in 2021 because, believe it or not, there's a very strict sound ordinance in Antarctica with all the measuring devices for all the seismic activity, all the scientific experiments, and of course the animals. They're very particular about the noise in that area. So we had a client that wanted to really wow their customers, and we were able to curate these majestic experiences, piano concerts on an iceberg, live acoustic concerts on zodiacs in the Antarctic Peninsula, and of course silent disco dance parties on icebergs. It was unbelievable, but no animals, no scientists were disturbed by that activity, and people had a really phenomenal, once in a lifetime kind of experience. You know, I think I mentioned this earlier, but our business is really we have like a functional kind of practical side and then experiential fun side to it. But it really comes down to connecting people through sound and music. And one of the things that I've learned over the last 14 years is really, well, not really learned, but I guess had the opportunity to live is the way that music and sound connects people. It's all universal. So we feel really privileged and honored to be a conduit for that kind of connection between humans of all shapes, sizes, races, colors, and places. So I'm going to, I guess, I wanted to get an idea of who here has been to a silent disco before or any sort of experience with wireless headphones. If you have, you could drop in the chat, say like, yes, I have, or yes, or nope. Okay, got a note. We got no's.
Do you want conversation too, or do you just want chat?
Oh, we could do conversation as well. Sure.
I'm like,
I think
hello,
everyone's gonna be
connection.
in the chat.
Um, I'm a speaker, and several speaker friends have been at events where the speakers are in a shared space delivering, and it must be, I'm guessing it's your technology
Mhm.
to be able to deliver multiple experiences. The
The same.
only challenging part was sometimes they could hear the other speakers. So, but
Well,
very cool, I thought.
that's yeah. It's a space that's really grown for us in the last 5 years. The conference and meeting side of the business. I'll talk about that more specifically a little later on. But yeah, being able to transform a single space, a single ballroom into multiple areas. When they're able to hear the other stages, it's actually not a headphone thing. It's normally the AV company that hasn't done their job correctly because they're not using the right microphones. You shouldn't be using lavaliers for those.
Right. Yeah.
Let's see, Nicole. Thank you, Claire, for that. Nicole at the tailgate party last November. Awesome, awesome. And we got a lot of no's. Okay, excellent. Well, I like to. Oopsies. Let me get back into this presentation. I like to say that seeing is believing. Since I don't have headphones that I can share with all of you, I wanted to kind of kick this off with giving you a little bit of a recap of our year last year, just so you can kind of see the ways in which the headphone technology can be utilized. So I'm going to pull up this next slide and we'll roll this video. All right.
I want to come.
You're all so very welcome. And I'll talk a little bit later about some of the things that we've got coming up in Toronto. Before we get there, a lot of people are always wondering, like, how did we get here? Like, how did this whole thing happen? You know, what was the impetus for me to create this business? Ingrid, I know that was one of your first questions that you asked me. And funny enough, my business kind of started because of a situation very similar to what's happening at Rogers Stadium. So it was also, you know, I like to say, Kismet, I already said that word, but I remember, Ingrid, when you reached out and you were telling me about this, what was going on in Toronto, it just brought me back to 2009. Because back then, I was in a completely different industry. I was in the eyewear industry, consulting with eyewear brands who were looking for distribution in the US and helping them with manufacturing, sourcing manufacturers in China, things like that. And my office building was in Denver at the time, and the guy who owned my office building owned about a dozen nightclubs and bars in Denver. And he was in the process of opening up this new space he called City Hall. As you can see, it's an outdoor amphitheater in downtown Denver in the Golden Triangle area. And he had been fighting with the Golden Triangle Association for about a year to be able to kind of open this space up, but they would not approve a permit for amplified sound. As you can see, right across the way, this was a building with like $1 million condos and apartments, and so these guys most certainly did not want to have a venue going until 2 in the morning with amplified sound. You know, messing with their, I guess, with their investment, but also with their sleep and everything else. So fast forward, so this was kind of like early 2009, end of 2009, I ended up going to Tel Aviv with one of my best friends. And on our last night, we went to a bar that was out by the beach, and we go inside of the nightclub, and then, but if you came out, they would give you headphones to listen to the music. Because they were on the beach, and it was a very similar situation, there was condos on the beach, they couldn't have any amplified sound that was playing on their patio. So they gave us these headphones, and my friend and I just like kind of jumped into the experience, and we're having a lot of fun. And when I came back to Denver, I met up with Regis, and I said, hey, I just went to Israel and I saw this thing. You know, they gave us headphones to listen to music outdoors. Maybe that's something that you can do as well. And he said, who the heck would want to wear headphones at a nightclub or in a venue? Like, that's a stupid idea. But that's all I needed to hear. On my next trip to China, I started looking for factories that could make this kind of headphone. Essentially, the fundamental product here was a radio headphone, and so we started looking for factories that are doing headphones in that style, and then working with them to kind of like adapt that to something that we could use for special events. And about a year later, in 2010, we had our first event in Denver. December of 2010 is when we formally launched the company, and I really didn't know what I was doing at the time. I had this experience in Israel. I had this guy who was having trouble opening up this venue. He actually ended up spending $1 million on a retractable roof. But I didn't have that kind of capital, so I went and found some some headphones that I could make, and then we kicked off this event, really not knowing kind of what people would say. This was the first time anything had been done like this in Denver, and what I didn't know at the time is really one of the first times it had been done in the States at all. The first silent disco in the United States happened in 2007 at Bonnaroo at the music festival. It was actually, the headphones were actually brought over from a company in the United Kingdom just for that festival. And for the next few years, the only place that silent discos happened was at Bonnaroo. But I had actually, till this day, still haven't been to Bonnaroo. I hadn't been to Tennessee at that time. And so, my reference was just this like moment that I had in Israel for a portion of a night. But what I noticed is, as I started to hand the headphones out to people, they didn't really understand what to do, like why they were doing it. They thought it was kind of weird. But then they put on the headphones and they sung it to the experience. And as they felt that immersion, we just saw the smiles instantaneously come on their faces. People who wouldn't traditionally dance really lost their inhibitions and got involved in the music. And it was really, really special. People were asking, when can we do this again? When can we do this again? And so that was kind of like all the fire that we needed, that I needed at that time, to continue kind of pushing and getting it in front of people and just saying, hey, just try this headphone. And we just started growing the business, literally one headphone at a time, just getting people to try it and try it and try it. Fast forward, it's 14 years in. December will be 15 years for us. Actually, I'll just go back to highlight. This was our first headphone. And if you were to listen to this in comparison to what we have now, it's just like, it's not even night and day. It's like, it's not even a thing. Like, this is like a headphones from like the early 1900s or something like that. It's terrible in comparison. What we did over time was we added LEDs into the product to make it more vibrant. Ingrid, as you said, you can be loud. Well, I guess for us, we can be loud and vibrant at the same time, because neither thing that we do really disturbs people. Oops. Oh, there you are. But this represents 15 years or 15 years of development and work and improving and perfecting. I wouldn't say perfecting. There's still more things that we can do, but improving the product and making it better and better all the time. We're known for our crisp audio, creating experiences where people are distraction free, and of course these unforgettable experiences, and that runs a plethora of kinds of things. Hold on. Oh, what do we mean by distraction free? Yeah, of course. So I'll talk about that a little bit more in depth a little later on, but just like in short, when you put on the headphones, it's actually not just our headphones. So I just want to preface that by saying, when you put on headphones, you tend to have less distractions. You're less inhibited by the things that are going on around you. If you notice, there's a lot of like if you use AirPods or any sort of other Bluetooth headphones, now they have like a passive isolation mode, which allows you to hear external sounds, so you can hear the cars that are next to you, or things like that, things that could put you in danger. But we don't have that in our headphones. Really, when you're putting on the headphones in the special event, you're not wandering out in the street, you're not in places that could be of danger, but it does help you just really hone in and focus. And what we found, I'll talk about this more in a little bit, but when we get into things like meditation, breath work, things where you need to really look inwards, the headphones really help for those kinds of experiences. But I would also say, this really just goes back when we were talking about silent discos and the way that people lose their inhibitions. I like to compare it to like if you're singing in the shower or singing in the car, your favorite song comes on and you really forget, you disconnect from what's going on around you, who might be watching, who might be listening, and you're just belting out this song, screaming at the top of your lungs until you realize like, oh, well, I'm at this red light. Maybe it's a little awkward now. So that's what I mean about the distraction free. It's like really you've got this immersive cocoon, sonic cocoon through the headphones. Yeah, that's part of what it's all about. The headphones now, when we started that first version of the headphone, we only had 2 channels in the headphones. Now we can do up to 100 channels. Mostly that's not used for any sort of like party experience, but when we're doing conferences and meetings or translations, being able to create breakouts. We can now do that with like our latest versions of the headphones. And because of the range of the transmitters that we have, we can broadcast out to 500 yards line of sight, which means that we can do events for, thousands of people. Actually, the largest event, it's not us, but one of our partners does over in the UK, is 50,000 people at a music festival called Boardmasters. That's actually happening in August. I'll be there in about 8 weeks working with them on that. But it's spectacular and just one of its kind. Actually, it's sort of interesting. In Europe, silent discos have grown larger than they have in the US. The largest silent disco in the US is like 5,000 people at Bottle Rock out in the Napa Valley. And the largest silent disco in the world is in the UK, 50,000 people. But regularly at these festivals are doing 20, 30, 40,000 people, which is wild. So let's see. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about kind of like the services that we offer and the things, well, not just the services that we offer, but the ways in which our technology can be used. There's kind of three tranches. Silent disco. Oh, yes. It's approximately 500. I forgot. I know in Canada you do
Sorry.
the imperial metric. It's okay.
What is that anyways?
So we have three different tranches. We have our silent disco, fitness and wellness, and audiovisual. And I'm going to walk you through kind of like what each one of these verticals is. And I'm also going to show you a little video at the end of each just to kind of give you visual context as to what that looks like. All right. So silent discos, it can be everything from corporate parties, charity events, nightlife, music festivals, weddings, camps, retreats, you name it, colleges and universities. One of the things that people love about this experience in particular is one, silent discos tend to be 3 channels of music. Unless you've got like like a headlining artist, you're normally listening to 3 different channels. What that means is that you're able to get a different genres of music on different channels. So let's say, I like folk music and, my best friend likes hard rock. And we go to this silent disco that has folk on one channel, hard rock on another, and electronic music on another. We can both be in the same space and tune into the music that we like. But not like I don't have to suffer through an evening of music that I don't like. I can still go out with my friend and still have this like collective communal experience, which is really special. One of my favorite instances of this is early on we did this wedding in Thailand for a couple. The bride was from Nashville, the groom was from Austria, and they had friends from all over the world. Now, I'm sure you can imagine for any DJ that got hired to do that event, it's an absolute disaster. He's like, how am I going to mix country music and Viennese waltzes and like pop music? It's just impossible. And we've all seen that happen. You go to a wedding and the DJ starts to play like the 60s and the 70s, and then all the kids go to the bar, and then the parents and the grandparents are on the dance floor, and then they play all the new like top music, and then all the kids come back on the dance floor and the parents go and sit down. You do have some songs that are universals, the thrillers, but oftentimes it's really hard to mix for a party of different like age groups or demographics, and silent disco allows you to do that because you can have 3 different distinct genres at the same time. So what we did for that wedding is we had the country music on one channel, we had Austrian Viennese waltzes on another channel, and the DJ got to take requests and mix and interact with the crowd, and everyone had an amazing time. The dance floor was packed from the beginning of the night to the end of the night. So that's something that was really, really special with the technology. And also because they were on this resort, they couldn't have speakers going late. So it enabled them to have their party run later into the evening, and they didn't have to like pick up and go downtown to another area to enjoy bars in enclosed spaces. They actually took their party right out to the beach, which is really magical. One of the questions that I get often, though, when talking about silent discos, people say, well, how do you talk to someone when you're in a silent disco? I mean, how's that possible? You got the headphones on. Who here knows this guy? No? Anyone familiar with Little John? All right, well, Little John was he actually, I started my career with Little John. I helped launch his energy drink called Crunk Energy Drink back in the early 2000s. And Little John was a rap artist, a producer, and also one of the, I guess, the co-founder, chief brand ambassador of Crunk Energy Drink. And he had these catchphrases. He had these catchphrases that were what, yeah, and okay. So I always think about Little John. I'll play them in a second. But because normally I feel like when you go to a bar and it's loud music and someone goes, you tell your friend like, hey, can I get you a drink? You're like, what? You're like, can I get you a drink? You're like, okay. You know, because it's so loud, you're like yelling into the person's ear that's like right next to you. And but with the silent disco, you can control the volume in your headphones. So if you want to be completely tuned out, you can do that. If you want to have a conversation, you can either bring the volume down on the headphone a little bit so it's at like an ambient talking level, or you can have it completely loud on one side and you can have an open ear and have a conversation that way. So it's actually much easier to have a conversation inside of a silent disco than it is when you've got the DJ with the music at a 12. You know, everyone's yelling at each other. I mean, I know we can all remember or think about like all the times you've come home from a venue, you have no voice anymore, right? You're completely hoarse. So anyways, we'll skip over Little John because there's not a lot of reference here. But anyways, that's the magic of silent disco is you've got intergenerational, multicultural, multi-ethnic. You can do all these kind of creative events and you can do them in different areas. And so I'll show you a little bit of how silent discos work, the different kinds of events that can be done with them, whether it's weddings, bar mitzvahs, you name it. So I'll have a quick little clip here. I guess I double that slide. Okay, so the next, yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Let me see. Question here: any disconnect with people moving at different rhythms? So that's another question that we get quite often, and I find it funny because oftentimes, is there no sound heard by others? Okay, Catherine. I'll get to your question in just a second. So. Oftentimes you just go to an event with like normal amplified sound, you look around and you're like, these people all have two left feet, you know what I mean? In the silent disco, at least you can hide it. You're like, oh, it must be on another channel. But as far as there being a disconnection, I mean, really there's a visual cue. So as you can see, the headphones, based on the channel that you're connected to. So let's say, channel 1 is pop music. Everyone that's on the blue channels could be listening to the same thing. Everyone that's on the red channels could be listening to the same thing. And everyone on the green channels could be listening to the same thing. So it's, just think about like if you were at a venue and they had like a different room with different kinds of music, it's essentially just breaking down the walls and having all those things happen in the same space at the same time. Is there no other sound heard by others? No, so there isn't, because unless you have the headphones on, you can't hear any noise. And so I like to think of it, I love when we do these like large public outdoor events because, normally if you're going into a venue, you've got this bouncer there with the red velvet tape and it's like, no, you can't go in. But when you've got the headphones on, it's like, if you haven't like rented or purchased a headphone or purchased a ticket to be at the event. It's like you've got all this action happening in front of you and the FOMO's happening, but you just can't connect because you can't hear it. Unless someone's singing a song, you have all these people just having the time of their lives in front of you, and you're like, wait, how do I get into this? Like, how can I join? So, yes, and does this only work with DJs? No, it actually does not only work with DJs. You can do any sort of input. So whether it's DJs, iPods, laptops, live bands. We're working on a project currently that's live orchestra, but all electronic instruments. We actually have done. I'll talk about that in a few slides, but we've done some orchestra events before. The New Deco Orchestra in Miami works with us when they do their concerts at their band shell. They essentially provide a mix for the audience that's like an audio engineer level mix that you can get in the headphones. So, they do have amplified sound in the space, but the headphones are supplementary, so you can really get like this immersive experience and hear every single instrument, which is really cool. We have an artist that we work with named Murray Hidry, and he does these mind travel concerts. He does these piano concerts on beaches and in parks, and so you're able to really be connected to nature. You can walk along the beach, put your feet in the water. You can just kind of like live this experience as he takes you through this journey with his music. It's absolutely beautiful. I was just at one of his shows in Miami a few weeks ago. There's 800 people on the beach in North Miami just bringing out their chairs, watching the sunset, listening to his music, and really just like traveling through this journey. So yeah, you can really use it for any sort of live instrument, whether it's DJ or instrumental. But I love the instrumental stuff because you really get a deeper connection to the music because you can hear the pluck of every string. It's like you've got a front row seat, and it doesn't matter where you are. Can this be used as an accessibility tool? Yes, it can. So I do want to put this as a caveat. We are not, like, our technology isn't ADA certified specifically. They have very specific frequencies. I think it's 72 hertz and like 100, and there's one in the hundreds, but there's some devices that just like your T loops and things like that, they resonate on those frequencies. But we do have devices that can connect to a T loop. So you can be connected, like if you do have a hearing aid, you can connect to like a receiver that will broadcast into your hearing loop. And just kind of looking towards the future, there's this new protocol called Auracast, and we are kind of like in the forefront of that right now. We're in the forefront of that, and Auracast is the latest Bluetooth protocol. And what it does is it allows for zero latency broadcast into any like hearing aid that's Auracast enabled, any device that's Auracast enabled. So you'll be seeing that rolling out here in the next few years. It's actually been in development and been kind of like soft launched for some time, but this protocol was developed specifically for hearing aid accessibility because generally speaking, it's pretty tough. Like you have to do this Bluetooth connection, but now from a single transmitter, I was at CES with Bluetooth SIG Group, and as they were doing their demos, and if you have an Auracast enabled, whether it's headphones, hearing aid, you just select the broadcast you want to listen to, and it goes directly into that device. So it's really awesome stuff that's coming up, and we are currently working on our own Auracast devices to kind of be in that space as well.
Sorry, my question around accessibility is, I love that answer and I'm excited about that. I was thinking about, so these events are where what I'm seeing pictures of is where everybody's wearing headphones. I'm someone who experiences autism. And so I want to go to an event and maybe can I get this experience as an individual at an event that's not hundreds or thousands of people, but it's an accessibility device for the people that want it, for example.
Yeah, so we, to be honest, we don't, let's see. when we get brought out to do events, it's generally for like a larger group of people, but we do work with like groups like Autism Speaks. We do work with schools that will provide headphones for students, like for school dances and stuff like that, so that they're not getting like all the loud music. They can kind of dampen it out with the headphones. So there are applications for those things. I didn't really talk about this, but we've got 3 divisions of the business. We've got a special events side of the business, we've got a retail and a rental side. So we get all kinds of requests and inquiries. We're not physically there for all of them, but can it be used as an accessibility tool? 1000%. One of the things, actually I didn't put this in the presentation at all, but we spent 2 years working on a research program with Vancouver Coastal General, and they were using our headphones to study the effects of using the headphones along with sound therapy for patients with dementia, and the results were like unbelievable, because music is one of the last pieces of memory to leave your brain. And so for memory recall, things like that, you put someone's song from their wedding, it brings them back to life, and it's really unbelievable. So we're actually selling into dementia care facilities, long-term care facilities, and a lot of that research started in Canada, actually. So really, really cool.
Thank you.
All right. Catherine, let's see. So it means all disco clubs would now be quiet. So it doesn't mean that all nightclubs need to be quiet. I certainly think that there is a space for all those things. I was just a few weeks ago, I was in Ibiza. I went to this nightclub called Pacha. It had the most amazing sound system I've ever heard. There's 1000% a time and a place for that. I don't think that you would want to have Pacha open air right next to your house, but you much prefer if they had the silent disco headphones if they're going late at night. Ibiza actually has a really interesting history with sound, because in the early days, all the clubs were they had no tops on them, and so because of the sound ordinances, that's why they got really famous for all their day parties, because after 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. they had to turn off the amplified sound. So the culture of day parties coming out of Ibiza is actually because of sound ordinance. I learned that my little tour around Ibiza. So yeah, I think that both amplified and non-amplified sound can live in harmony, and we all do it. But I think it's about creating. Yes. I'm sorry. So it's about creating the right environment in the right places at the right time. And yes, each headphone can be adjusted to the preferred volume. There's a volume knob on the side of the headphone, so you can adjust it to whatever feels good to you. All right. Let's see. Fitness and wellness. I know I'm running a little long, so I'm going to try to move it along. What I'll do is I'm going to save the any other questions for the end, so I'll just zoom through this. I got just like a few more slides. Fitness and wellness. I talked about this a little bit earlier on, but lots of modalities: yoga, meditation, sound baths, bar spinning. For us, this all started with a handstand. I was doing a handstand in my bedroom, and I was like, oh, maybe we can use headphones for yoga. And the gal I was dating at the time said, why would anyone want to use headphones for yoga? I was like, I don't know. But I convinced, oops, there's someone that's trying to get in here. I convinced a festival organizer in Hong Kong to connect me with the yoga studio. And our first yoga event with headphones was 150 people on a beach in Hong Kong at sunrise. And people loved it. And actually, it transformed not only our whole business globally, but I went over to Hong Kong for our first events, and I had to open an office there immediately because it was so popular. We were booked out for 20 weeks straight, because in Hong Kong, one, very hard to get sound permits from the Chinese government, and two, all the studio spaces were really small. So being able to do a 75-person or 100-person event in a park on a Sunday was tremendous for the studios, and we kind of kicked that program off in Hong Kong and then brought it all over the globe. and it's been really amazing. Right now, we're doing a lot. What we're seeing is most popular is like breath work, sound baths. We have a partner in Miami that actually does floating sound baths, which is like pretty incredible. And with all these things, using the headphones allows you to just drop into a deeper state of relaxation and meditation. There's actually a certain kind of music, it's called binaural beats. And binaural beats are like a cellular massage of the brain. The way that it's designed, you've got these frequencies that are quickly oscillating between both sides of your ears, left and right, and that just drops you into a deeper state of relaxation and meditation. So you can only experience that in headphones, and so a lot of our partners will incorporate binaural beats into their wellness programs. So let's see. I'm gonna skip over the video, but I'll Ingrid, what I'll do is I'll send you these pieces of content so you can distribute it to the group with the notes at the end.
Fabulous. Thank you.
All right. Oops. It said no. I want to play.
Technology can do that.
Right. And then we've got our audio visual. We already talked a little bit about the conferences and meeting side, but wireless sound monitoring, providing kind of new solutions in that space. Outdoor movie screenings. Oftentimes you see these like large outdoor gatherings with movies. There's 2 speakers at the front and like you've got 500 people there trying to listen. It's like impossible. So with this, again, with the range of 400, maximum range of 457 meters, you can put headphones on just about anyone in a space and really allow them to tune into that programming. Album launches, we've done lots of things for artists from, excuse me, from Cardi B to Sufjan Stevens. We get it's actually really cool when we get to do these projects because a lot of the artists we work with, they like to take our technology to do their album releases in different places. From we did Sabrina Carpenter's album release a few years ago on a double-decker bus going through Times Square around the city. We did an album release in a car wash. You know, you can really take the music to places and give fans this new level of experience that they've never had before because you don't have to be in a traditional venue. We can create whatever soundscape you want in the headphones and we can do it anywhere. So it's really cool. And then we talked about the a little bit about live instrumentation. We talked about that kind of at large, but one of the things you would have seen in this video that I won't show right now, but one of my favorite moments was in Times Square. Times Square, New York City, also has a very strict sound ordinance. Once a month at midnight, they have this thing called the Midnight Moment. And we worked with them on curating a silent orchestra at midnight with videos projecting on 21 screens going all through Times Square. So again, that was like pretty like awesome just having this whole orchestral experience for about 500 guests in the middle of Times Square and no one could hear. You could just see the instruments playing, but because they're electronic instruments, you couldn't hear anything. Maybe the strings plucking, but nothing, but everyone got like this kind of Carnegie Hall level audio experience sitting in the middle of Times Square. It was really cool. All right, so we're gonna skip on past this. All right, oh, great, coming up to the end. So I did want to let you know we've got some events that are coming up in Toronto in like the next month. So if you're interested in experiencing the technology in person, you absolutely can. The first thing that's kicking off is the Italian Contemporary Film Festival. We've been working with them for like 4 years, and that happens in the Distillery District. Now,
Wow.
we allow them to screen these films all throughout the summer. They have 3 different stages, and all of them use the headphones. So it's this really, really beautiful evening in the Distillery District. As you know, there's all these high-end condos that are right above, and so the residents absolutely would not allow for there to be this big stage with big speakers that are playing, but with the headphones, it's allowed them to transform the space into this like really beautiful area for people to come and enjoy and relax these and see these films throughout the summer. So that's that kicks off June 27th. So here pretty soon, and goes through July 20th. And I believe the showing is nightly. You can find the information on the Italian Contemporary Film Festival's website, ICFF, I think it's .ca or icff.org. And then we will be producing a silent disco for the Toronto Fringe Festival. This is the third year that we've worked with them, and it continues to grow bigger and bigger. So it's their kind of like last event on their calendar. That's also going to be in the Distillery District this year, July 12th from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. We also, any events that we have that are public, a lot of the events that we do are not public, but any public events that we have are listed on our website at soundoffexperience.com. And yeah, I guess with that, I just wanted to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to share what we do at Sound Off. And again, thank you, Ingrid, for having me here, for finding me. And yeah, I think I'll look through the chat to see if there's any questions that I missed. But of course, if there's anything else,
Thank you.
we'll open up the questions
Yeah.
now.
If you can just stop sharing your screen, that would
Oh,
be
yeah.
amazing. Yeah. And you got a clap from Catherine, both visually and through the reactions. And yeah, so you know what? I'm really interested to hear what other people here think. So Q&A, how we do it is this isn't story time, storytelling time. So have a question, have a comment, share a little bit, but we need to be respectful of people's time. We've got 9 minutes left until I always do a soft close and sometimes hang out a little bit longer. But I'm curious, come off mute or put your hand up and I can call on you. And what do you think about all of this? This is great information and very exciting. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go to one of these. I'm very happy to promote them too through No More Noise Toronto to do that actually.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to pick on someone here. So, Catherine, you clapped. You clapped. So, what makes you what made you clap out of this? What
Well,
made you?
well, to be fair, first of all, I wanted to applaud the our speaker. Castell, you did a great job, and I apologize for interrupting the flow with questions. But anyway, it was fascinating to me, and I live in the Garment District, which is now apparently, unbeknownst to us, the entertainment district has now moved across the tracks, the Spadina tracks, and is now in our area. And in addition, the bars are now also something they did when we weren't looking. The bars are now open until 4 a.m., which means probably 5 a.m. by the time people stagger home. So this I find fascinating. And and I was just looking at the bookmarking the Italian event, because I too have friends in the Italian community. So lots of good
They'll
stuff.
be
I
there.
think it's fantastic. And I have a
It's like
neighbor
every
who's
Italian in Toronto is there.
well, I'm sure they are, but I also have a neighbor who's a sound engineer, so I'm going to make sure that he is aware of this. He probably is, but I think it's fabulous. So I have no question. It was just really a comment to
Yeah.
say, neat. Sorry.
No, that's all
Thank you
really
so
good.
much.
No, this is the dialogue time and all of that, like it's so this is where, cities are just they're getting more dense, but we also have more people wanting to do more things. And there's something about the pandemic. When we came out of the pandemic, we didn't come out the same way we went in. And
No.
I'm curious, actually, Castell, you've been in the business now for 10 years. What trends have you seen, and what changes, and I mean, clearly you're one of the solutions that cities are using to grapple with noise, but what kind of changes have you seen over the last few years?
So many things.
Yeah. Where do you start?
Where to begin? One of the things that I found really interesting for us was, we had a really beautiful business, pre-pandemic. The beginning of the pandemic was really, really terrifying for us, right? Because being in special events, it's just like no public gatherings, no nothing, like shut it down. Really terrifying. But as things start to open up and people are trying to get together, they're also trying to be mindful of their neighbors. And so our
Hmm.
what was predominantly a special events business really became like a retail B2B and B2C business, because fitness studios all over the world, they're trying to reopen. They want to do classes in parks with social distancing, and we're able to be the solution for that. People wanted to gather with their families in their backyards and have music going, but not disturb the people next to them. So they would either rent from us or buy some headphones, or they want to do outdoor movie screenings. They could do it and do it socially distanced with their neighbors. We saw the ways that, like, again, it was about, I mean, I kind of started the presentation talking about how music and sound connects people, and we really saw that as it was like music as medicine during the pandemic. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's been so many evolutions of the business. I think what gave us um, hope, uh, maybe hope's not the right word, but we just had a lot of gratitude that like the business had like longevity despite the
Mhm.
times, because we were, in a way, we became this sort of like essential business for people to be able to connect and communicate and experience with each other. So that, yeah, that was one of the things that like I wouldn't have expected going into that time. Like I think for everyone it was hard to see the light, but we were like, wow, like
Yeah.
this thing that we've been doing that was, you could always be socially distanced because you didn't have to be in a cramped nightclub. You could be spread out in this open space, in this, field or in this park, dancing with people and having a good time. And now that was just like the normal, right?
Yeah.
People are like, I want that space. Don't breathe on me, please.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's funny because you mentioned people being more considerate, and a lot of what I hear is that people are actually being less considerate on the TT on our transit. People are, I get to hear other people's videos, and before I used to hear conversations, but people were kind of mindful of it. Now it's like, yeah, well, and it's like, wow, and okay, there's Lewis's and get little heart, and so I imagine it's different in different places, but the same need. You are the solution for the same thing, and this is where like we've got. I was talking with people, and they're like, people don't want to. They want to talk to each other. They don't want to have talk through headphones. Well, give me a break. Look at everybody that's got headphones on right now.
Right.
But the things that you're talking about with the solutions of you can turn it off. It's in one ear. You can have different channels. All of that. It seems like it's such a great solution. What are the barriers you think that you face as an industry, and what or as a product, more not as an industry because you're in the music industry, but as your product, what do you come up against?
Uh, well, let's see, where to begin. Um, but look, I think that one of the things that's like a gift and a curse is that there's so many skeptics, right? You're just talking about the person that's like, well, why would I want to wear headphones? And so it's getting them over the hump of like
Right.
just trying it, right? Because it's actually not that weird. Most of us use headphones, whether you're working out, going to the gym. It's not 50 years ago. I mean, like everyone's got an AirPod, or thank you,
Mhm.
Steve Jobs.
Mhm.
you know,
Those hurt my
thank you.
ears though. I can't do those.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Dre. Whatever it is,
Yeah.
it's like, this
Yeah.
culture of headphones. I live in New York, and people love to wear headphones on the subway, right? Because you don't have to listen to the Showtime guys in the morning. You go to work or whatever it is, you just tune out. So, that's a barrier, but it's also an opportunity, because I would say that for the people who haven't experienced it, I would say we have like a 7 out of 10 conversion. And most of the time, it's not people. They're like, you know what? I don't like this was much better than I expected. Maybe it's not for me,
Mhm.
and that's like
Yeah.
that's okay. But no one like I have very few people that will put on a headphone and be like, oh, I hate this. This is
Oh,
awful.
yeah. Yeah.
Maybe again, if they don't like the music that's on one channel, I'm like, oh, hold on, let's just press the button, get get another channel.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
would say that's one of the things. Always, yeah, there's sometimes like there's never enough product. I mean, currently we're dealing with tariffs. That's not fun. Um,
Ah, yeah. Well, and I figured it was the skeptics because that's something that we as No More Noise Toronto members face too. They're like, get out of the city. If you don't like the noise, get out of the city. Give me a break. Cities can be quiet.
yep,
Cities can be quieter. We can have a good sleep. This is about balance and that mutual respect. And so in speaking of
symbiosis.
mutual, sorry, say that again.
Is it symbiosis? All the
Yeah,
things.
absolutely. So speaking of which, we're at 7:58. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen and kind of round us off here, and then we'll see where we go from there. But okay, here we go. So, thank you, Kestel, for this engaging and informative talk. It's enlightened me and given me a new way of thinking about how to dance in the city. For those of you who may not have joined us before or don't know, we do have working groups, and we do have an amplified sound working group, and so we're working towards. If you didn't join right in the beginning, I'm part of the external working group for the night economy for the city.
Mm.
So I am representing citizen voice, and I'm going to be bringing this to the city of Toronto. I'm going to have to register as a lobbyist, okay, Castel? Maybe you have one already. I'll help them. But if you do have amplified sound issues, remember to call 311. I know the process is broken, but it's a data point and it's important. So please do. Visit nomoreNoiseToronto.com. We're revamping our website. We're always growing, but major good things are happening. And on the top right, or on the top right corner, you'll see events, and you'll also see noise sources. And that's where we have more information on noise sources, so you can educate yourself on noise. So we've got upcoming events. We have just like you, Kestel, except my slides aren't nearly as pretty as yours. So June 26th at 8 p.m. we're having silencing vehicle vanity noise. In Seattle, there is a new company that I've learned about, and this is about motor vehicle noise and basically the noise cameras. So we've had one manufacturer on before. This is a new one that I'm learning about, so I always want to share the knowledge. And then on July 17th, we have a book launch for Clamor, How Noise Took Over the World and How We Can Take It Back. And that's by Chris Burdick. And so there's a QR code to our events page. And I just want to end off by saying thank you. Thank you to all of you who take your time out of your day or your evening, and you're part of the movement of making better cities sound better and us having a better sleep, better quality of life. But it goes to show that we can dance too, and I love to dance. Some of my best memories growing up are about dancing, and so that's what we're promoting to the city of Toronto, is you can dance and have a good time, and you can also have a good sleep. So with that, I'm going to say thank you to every one of you, and I'm going to just at this point stop sharing, and I need to stop sharing there. There we go. All right. So now you get an in-person. Thank you so much.